Welcome to the Ultimate Gaming Realm, and this is your curator, Dixon, logging on. Welcome everyone to the Ultimate Gaming Realm's The Realm of Horror. In this episode, we're going to do a review on a trilogy of psychological survival horror adventures, the Penumbra series. From the same developers who brought you even more superior survival horror games within the 10 years, such as Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Amnesia: The Machine for Pigs, and their latest game, Soma. Frictional Games was the developing company that was founded at the beginning of 2007, and Frictional Games has their own gameplay engine which was created by Grip Designs, and they named the engine HPL Engine, which HPL Engine was named after Howard Philip Lovecraft, and nowadays Frictional Games is using the third HPL engine. But this video is mainly focusing on the Penumbra series, and that series uses the first HPL engine, with the help of the open source physics engine, the Newton Gameplay Dynamics. Now, I'm already quite impressed with Frictional Games engine. After all, I am a Lovecraftian. The Penumbra series is a first-person survival horror adventure, and the story begins in February of 2000. The story started in 2000 when Philip lost his mother. Then after the funeral, Philip received a letter from his supposed dead father. Then a year later in 2001, Philip took a flight to northern Greenland to find clues on what his father's been up to all these years. But all that led Philip into was a mysterious location in the inhabited northern Greenland. All three games will have the same protagonist named Philip, and each of the three chapters are straightforward with the story, but each one of these three games is going to differ than the other. Now, Overture was the first episode in the Penumbra series, released in 2007. And looking at the graphics, it feels like the game was made about 5 years earlier. After all, the series took place over 5 years earlier, so I guess that makes sense. Overture does have a creepy environment with an atmospheric soundtrack that fits in with the gameplay. Even with the dated graphics by the time, the HPL engine does impress me on what the engine can do. Overture does have some unique puzzles to interact with, and there's some puzzles that are not so unique. Either way, the puzzles are not that difficult. Throughout Overture, you're mainly going through the abandoned mine and finding all sorts of clues left by dead scientists or dead researchers leading to what happened in the mine many years ago. Mainly their stories and notes about what happened, and their final words before it happened. Now beware on what lurks in the mine, like these infected dogs, or big spiders, or this giant worm, aka the mining monster. Now that worm is Lovecraftian there. Now your character Philip is not meant to be a fighter. Best off you try to stay low profile until the coast is clear to sneak past them and stay out of their sight. Or if they detect you, just haul ass. Now, the AI for these creatures were not that good, because these creatures can be easily avoided. When you're in crouching mode, and if you stare at a creature too long in a hiding place, you will start to panic. And if you panic for too long, chances are the creature is going to detect you right on the spot. You can defend yourself from these dogs or spiders with a hammer or a pickaxe, which those tools are meant to be used for breaking down doors, vents, locks, or any certain object. But they still can be used as a weapon too. But the biggest problem is that the combat system sucks. I mean, you have to hold down the right mouse button and shift the mouse in any direction you want to hit. And it takes numbers of hits on either a dog or a spider. And boy, the hit detection was poorly executed. Especially when you're using these weapons against a little fucking spider. Well, these spiders are not that little, but they're not nearly as gigantic as the ones from Resident Evil either. The spiders in Overture look so easy to kill just by fucking stomping on them. But when there's too many spiders, you must run like hell. I also wasn't satisfied with the graphic detail on both dogs or spiders. I've seen shittier graphics on these types in other games, a lot shittier. But the graphics here is what I should call a lack of detail. But however, they did a pretty good job on detailing the giant worm at least. Philip will be aided by a man through a radio named Red, who turned batshit insane from being trapped in the mine for years and surviving off insects. Despite its flaws with Overture, the episode does feel more like Alone in the Dark, which Alone in the Dark was also inspired by Lovecraft. But Alone in the Dark had more heart to Lovecraft. But without giving much away, Overture is one creepy-ass episode for sure. Now episode 2, Black Plague. Black Plague was released the following year, uses the same engine, but with more improvements all around. The graphics, the visuals, and the gameplay mechanics gotten better. Still feels dated, but at least better. Black Plague continues on where Philip left off from Overture, except you're now in a laboratory named The Shelter. There's these new monsters that are zombie-type like creatures called the Infected, and they can be powerful as fuck, but they can easily be avoided, and evasion is all you can do in Black Plague, because they removed the defense system that was in Overture, which is good to me because the combat system in Overture sucked, and after all, Philip is not a fighter. And you will not be encountering the same creatures as you did in Overture, like the spiders or infected dogs. Actually, you will be encountering one creature from episode 1 in Black Plague, the giant worm, aka the mining monster. Black Plague also added some sci-fi elements where you have to log on to computers or fix mainframes to advance in certain areas. And come to think of it, these infected zombie-type creatures also kind of resemble the look of an alien. It also turns out Philip had been infected, with a personality that moved into Philip's head to manipulate his mind to cause Philip to hallucinate and do other crazy-ass things. The other personality that went into Philip's head goes by the name of Clarence. Most of the way through Black Plague, Philip has to put up with Clarence until Philip finds a cure to get Clarence out of his head for good. Philip also finds another ally in Black Plague through audio chat through the computer, Dr. Annabelle Swanson, and she assists you throughout most of the episode. Episode 2, Black Plague, is indeed more superior than Episode 1, Overture. Black Plague is as twisted as Overture, but Frictional Games improved all around the HPL engine for Black Plague. The plot in Black Plague makes a little bit more sense, and the cool thing they added in Black Plague is a mini retro style game called Shmup. Once again, without giving much away, Black Plague by far is the better episode. And Black Plague was meant to be a conclusion in the Penumbra series, but they decided to do a third episode, Requiem. Requiem was originally an episodic expansion pack for the Black Plague episode, but according to Steam, Requiem can be an episodic standalone game too, so you don't need the Black Plague episode to install the Requiem episode, at least on Steam. Requiem does not have an opening message like the previous 2 episodes did. Now the ending for Black Plague sounded like a conclusion to the Penumbra series after sending the message, but unfortunately that's not the case, because this is where Requiem comes in. Unlike the previous episodes, unless if you're in hallucination, there are no creatures to encounter. All there is to do in this episode is to solve puzzles, avoid hazardous contraptions, and escape. Requiem seems to focus more on the episode being more like a linear level-based type game, as well as solving more puzzles than before. In order to advance for each stage, you must collect these orbs in order to open a portal gate, so you can move on to the next stage. Some stages can require 1 orb, 2 orbs, or 3 orbs in order to open a portal gate. So above all, Requiem may be the least likable of the trilogy, but it's still a decent episode for its own good. It's also the shortest episode out of the 3. In fact, too short that I don't have anything else to tell you about it. The Penumbra series may not be as awesome as Frictional Games' ongoing projects such as Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Soma, but Frictional Games had to start somewhere, and I thought the Penumbra series was a fantastic start. The Penumbra trilogy can be found on Steam or Good Old Games for $10 or under, and for that price, I would go for it. Thank you all very much, and this is Dixon of the Ultimate Game Realm, logging off.